Muted.
Welcome on into the First Round Fantasy Podcast. You can tell Jacob's been hosting for a while. Welcome on in. You're home for second round advice. I'm Gabriel Miramontes, joined by Jacob Bartley, Joseph Morsaz, and Justin Morsaz. Gentlemen, how we doing today?
One more day.
Doing good, man.
We have a chant yet, guys? One more day.
I woke up this morning and I was like, football starts tomorrow, bro. I'm so excited.
Yeah,
like it's almost like Christmas Eve, right?
Yeah, when we were kids, it was
A little bit
Christmas.
better.
Now it's football.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm kind of sad draft season's over, to be honest. It feels like it came and went like that, but I'm ready to get going, man. Justin, one more day, right?
One more day, and I feel you on that. For some reason, I felt past years I had more time to savor my roster, see what I wanted to do, but it's just quick right now.
Yeah, for sure.
You guys just made me realize how much more I love fantasy football than I do Christmas. So that kind of made me sad for a minute. Before we get into today's stuff, before you even get any further, hit the like button and please subscribe. It does so much. You can find us anywhere you get your podcast. Obviously, if you're listening right now via YouTube, we appreciate you. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere else you listen, you can find us there. We have the merch as well. Anybody repping it today? I don't think so. We're washing it. It's laundry day. But you can find that at TeePublic, link in the description below. And again, if you have any trade questions, the new and improved by your man, Jacob Bartley. He's done a great job of putting together the trade evaluation form. It is in the link below. Please feel free to send us one. We will talk about it live on the podcast. You know what? You really care what we have to say. I know you do. You think they care, guys? They care.
Of course
Some
they
people.
care.
Of course
If
they
they're
care.
watching,
Right?
they care.
They care. And that's why we care about you. So we're going to give
carry
you
them to their championship, so they
We're
better
going to
care.
give you the best advice. And Joe's right. We're going to carry you to the championships. We're jumping right into it today. First things first, we're going to talk about some major injury news. No catastrophic injuries to report, but that's good. But some little ones here and there that might play a significant role this week being week number 1. Let's get into it. DeAndre Swift. He's been limited all week at practice. He's been dealing with an issue for most of the offseason. There have been rumors that his role could be limited in week 1. You drafted him probably to start him week 1 as your running back 2. Heck, maybe as your RB1. Are you concerned about his availability in week 1? I'll hand it over to you first, Jacob. And if so, would you make a pivot to a guy like Jamal Williams, the backup?
I'll have a reason to talk about Swift later on in the podcast, so I don't want to go too much into depth, but a couple days ago, I was worried. I'm not as worried anymore, but I still don't feel great about him in week 1.
Yeah. What about you, Joe?
I thought I read that he's practicing fully and he's going to be there. And listen, I got a feeling why Jacob wants to talk about him later, but I'm all go on him this week, guys. I think that the Niners are going to beat the hell out of the Lions, and DeAndre Swift is going to get some catches out of the backfield because Goff's going to be scrambling. So I say fire him up, man. I'd say fire him up too, especially because we shouldn't even be talking about him. He was a full participant in yesterday's practice. Oh my gosh, look at us. First day back, we're making errors. I'm not even going to talk to you, Justin. Let's move on. Noah Fant, a real injury concern here. Also because it's very personal to me. I have him in a number of leagues. Game time decision at this point. What are you doing? Are you dropping Noah Fant to pick up a guy like Rob Gronkowski who's on the waiver wire? I saw someone today in one of our leagues pick up Rob Gronkowski and drop. I forget who it was, but I felt like it was a very noteworthy name. But these are the type of moves we have to make in week 1, especially in the tight end world where, so many of these guys are going to be hit and miss. Justin, what are you feeling about Noah Fant? Are you pivoting this week? Or if he's out there and you think he might be limited, are you scared to start him?
Yeah, I mean, this is the struggle with tight ends. You just got to keep your eye on it straight up every day till game time, especially with a situation like this. If he's not good to go, I definitely pivot, but the key here is not to cut him because he's definitely a valuable tight end. I'm sure you can find room and pick up a guy like Jared Cook, but he's not a cut. He's definitely a bench if he's not good to go 100%.
I found out today. I found out just a few seconds ago. They cut they cut Jonnu Smith to bring on Rob Gronkowski. So that wasn't necessarily Noah Fant. But what do you guys feel about that move? Considering we're talking about tight end specifically, you drop Jonnu Smith to add Rob Gronkowski. I mean, obviously Johnny's got to be higher than that, right, Joe?
No, I got no issue with that, man. I got no issue with
They
that.
paid the guy the money, right? Now you
This
got
is
Mac
obviously
Jones
this
throwing
is
the
in a
ball.
redraft league, right? Like,
This is
Yeah.
in a redraft league.
so if it's in a redraft league, then I have no problem with it because Gronk is gonna do what he did last year, get touchdowns and be a solid slide in. But I would never do that in like a dynasty or keeper league.
You know, the interesting thing about Gronk to me, guys, is that I'm looking in so many leagues, and he's on the waiver, and he was on almost all of them. And my thought about him is he's going to be a top 10 tight end because right now there's so much hype, right? We're looking at Higbee, we're looking at Fant, we're looking at Waller, we're looking at Pitts, we're looking at all these guys, and I do think everybody I named has a great possibility to be ahead of him. But Gronkowski is so consistent. Like Jacob said, he gets you touchdowns. He'll get you 3 catches every game. He might not ever explode, but he's like the slow snail that wins the race. Where guys like Higbee are poised to have games where they don't do anything. Maybe get 1 catch for 6 yards and get you 2 points. Where Gronkowski, I feel like nobody likes him because he's not sexy. But you're going to slot him in there, he's going to get you 8, 9, 10 points. And maybe that's the difference between a win and a loss out of your tight end spot, right? So if you don't have one of those top 4, 5, 6 guys, I say 6 because I think there's 6 surefire guys. I don't mind throwing Rob Gronkowski in the mix. Maybe you don't want to do it week 1. Maybe you want to take a chance on one of these other guys. But long term, I'd love to have him on the bench.
Joe, couldn't have said it any better myself. And with that being said, we veered off course of Noah Fant, but keep an eye on that. Let's move on. Chris Godwin and Gio Bernard both dealing with injuries. I think Chris Godwin was actually a full participant today, and Gio was also practicing today. If by the chance they don't go out, are you guys running to start Leonard Fournette, who might get a huge boost in the passing game, as well as Antonio Brown, who might get a huge boost in the passing game if either one of them are forced to miss time? Jacob, what do you think?
Yeah, man. I mean, I love Antonio Brown this year. In our most 2 recent drafts, the wide receivers dried up quick somehow, at least guys that I would feel comfortable starting, and I grabbed Antonio Brown in both. And even when everybody's healthy, I feel solid about him in a flex. He has my love forever. He helped me win a championship last year in the Apocalypse League. I think he helped me beat Joe to get to the championship, which was, I'll never forget that. So put up
Stop me from repeating.
Yeah, he got me over like 20 points that week. It was like the championship week or the week before championship week. So I'm totally good at starting, especially if one of those guys miss. I feel really good about Antonio Brown.
Yeah, I know I feel really good about Antonio Brown regardless. I've been very high on him with Jacob this offseason. Justin, Joe, what do you think about Antonio Brown specifically? I feel like he could easily lead that team in targets. Is that a bold statement? Do you agree? Hop on board.
I mean, I'm good with it either way, but if Godwin's out, even better. But I still think Evans is going to be the target guy over there. But I don't mind the Brown start, but I can't see a world where I'd be okay starting Leonard Fournette. It just doesn't. If you got to be in a deep league to justify that right now.
That is very true. Gio Bernard has solidified a role in that backfield as a pass catcher. Leonard Fournette presents the best opportunity when it comes to pass catching abilities if Gio wasn't there. But at the same time, neither Gio or Ronald Jones were sufficient last year with their pass catching opportunities. So, yeah, it might be something you have to keep your eye on. Let's touch on one more, not an injury news at all, but it is important to note Latavius Murray has been cut by the New Orleans Saints. It's been on multiple radars for like the last couple of weeks if you follow any like beat reporters or the big market circuits. They finally cut him loose. Guys, Tony Jones Jr. is a name to mention. I mean, Latavius Murray was very relevant last year. This is a backfield that's going to run the ball a lot. I know some of you, I think, Joe, you ran out to get Tony Jones Jr. in one of our leagues. I saw him swooped up off the waiver wire this week. I already have him in a couple of leagues. How you feeling, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, I have Kamara in 2 leagues. And I think that this man is a must-have until they go out and show otherwise, right? Like they may go sign somebody else. We've heard Devontae Freeman, but until he's available, I think if you're a Kamara owner, Kamara's had injuries in the past. And Latavius has had weeks where he is very, very fantasy relevant, right? RB1, maybe a RB2. So you have to have the backup. And I actually, in Dynasty, he was swooped up before I could get to him. And that was very, very frustrating because I've had a lot of injury concerns already. Who did I lose in that one? I already lost Etienne. I already lost Dobbins.
And Dobbins, yeah.
Yeah. So now I basically lost Latavius, who was, my handcuff. And somebody already took him. So now I'm very, very limited at running back. And I tried to throw out an offer to the guy, Kadarius Toney and Dalton, for him, and he rejected it. And
hey, people are quick with these pickups, man. Sometimes I'm like, how did they even get there that fast?
Yeah, but I'm interested to see what happens with Latavius because I still think that there's some teams that could use a backup running back. I know that the Ravens brought in Le'Veon for the practice squad, but the Ravens lost.
They did
guys.
that before Latavius was cut, though.
Yeah, exactly. And Gus Edwards, I like him, and I think the Ravens are a team that will never have a true workhorse. And I don't know that they could talk up Tyson all they want, but at the end of the day, Hill is out, Dobbins is out, and I think Latavius would be a great fit in a kind of a Mark Ingram role over there. So that's what I'm personally expecting is if Latavius makes it through, I think he has to go through waivers, right? Watch out because he could be a sneaky good pickup for one of these teams, and I still think he's got some juice in the tank.
If nobody grabs him through waivers, he'll be on a roster spot in the first couple of weeks of the season. I have no doubt about that because he's good and he played. He never has got a lot of volume the last couple of years, right behind Kamara, but he always plays well. So it was a financial reason. It's not about his talent. They had a guy, Tony Jones, come up and then they asked Latavius Murray for a pay cut. He said no, cut. It's not like they didn't want him. Of course, they'd love to keep him, but they couldn't.
Yeah. I mean, and look at him, guys. 656 yards, 146 carries, 4.5 yards per carry last year. It was also figured in some pass work, 23 receptions for 176 yards, and he had 5 touchdowns. Like, that's not something to scoff at, 700 yards almost. So, or 800 total yards. So I think he's still got a job in his future for sure.
Yeah, if it's worth noting, I have Kamara in another dynasty league. I heard the news about Latavius Murray being cut, and I still didn't drop him. I already had Tony Jones Jr., but I'm keeping Latavius Murray on my bench because he might be serviceable somewhere else, like you guys are saying.
Wait, I have an idea, Gabe. How about everybody out there? If there's somebody in your league who's the Kamara owner sniped you on your handcuff in the draft, go pick up Tony Jones Jr. so now you have their handcuff. I think that's a great idea, right? Right, Dustin?
What an amazing coincidence you just mentioned right there.
Right?
Let's make a potential trade right now. I'll give you Latavius if he signs with the Ravens, and you give me Trey Jones. Because as that news broke, I was pondering, and I'm not bragging, but my roster is very beautiful and deep, and I couldn't justify dropping anybody aside Latavius. And then as soon as I was considering it, you picked him up, so I had no options. So I have Latavius. I still think he's valuable, but you have the backup to Kamara. So we'll make a potential trade if you want to agree to it if that day comes.
Not for Latavius, but we'll talk.
Then you ain't getting nothing else.
Okay,
Let's
cool.
save it for the It's Personal podcast. No other news to report unless I'm missing something. Feel free to speak now or forever hold your peace. Then let's move on to sleepers. We're talking about our dark horses of the week, our first for 2021. My guys got some good ones, hot and heavy, coming through. And just a reminder for all of you out there, if you happen to listen to us for the first time, when we talk about our dark horses here on the show, we're not talking about guys like CMC, like Dalvin Cook, like A.J. Brown, who are going to come out and be the backbone for your team. No, we're talking about the guys that, hey, they might be on your bench this week. Hey, they might even be so deep that they're sitting on the waiver wire this week. But we think that they're worth taking a shot on. We're putting our money where our mouth is. And that's what a dark horse is, baby. Someone that comes out of the woodworks and does well for your fantasy team when you need them in a pinch. With that being said, I think it's only necessary that I start us off first. So my first dark horse of the 2021 season, Melvin Gordon, running back for the Denver Broncos. And I'll keep it short and I'll keep it sweet. A lot of people think that with Javonte Williams there, this is going to be a split backfield. And let me tell you, it is. But they're playing the New York Giants in week 1. They were bottom 10 last year in terms of stopping the run. I think both of these guys are going to get a significant workload in week 1. A lot of people have Melvin Gordon. Look at him. He fell all the way back into the 8th, 9th round in some of these drafts. That's a tremendous value for a guy who I believe, who is on a contract year, is definitely going to be run into the ground. He's 28. They have no better use than to just use him as much as they can and let Javonte Williams soak up all the experience from the sidelines or limited touches. He might be a late season breakout candidate, but not in week 1. I don't see him taking that workload away from Melvin Gordon. With that being said, I think I already booked it down. He's 29 for the week. Thank you, Jacob. I think he's projected on Yahoo platforms in full PPR for about 12 fantasy points. I will nicely rise above that. 15 fantasy points. That's a great serviceable flex play. I'm playing it safe this year, but also I think it's a right pick, and that's the perfect dark horses. People out there are probably thinking, should I even start Melvin Gordon this week? Yes, you should, and I'm here to tell you because that's my dark horse for 2021, first week 1. Jacob, or anybody have anything to say, I guess? Is that a good pick?
I agree. I agree.
Yeah. I was so low on drafting him because I think Melvin Gordon's not that great of a football player, and I think the end is near. But for the first quarter of the season, I think he's a must start until proven otherwise.
I mean, I think last year he averaged his best yards per carry, which was like 4.8. So I get it. Like in terms of running back age, yeah, he's numbered. His days are numbered. He's 28. He could very well fall off this year. I don't think it happens in week 1. And that's why I like him. I think a lot of people are really low on him. And he's going to come out and he's going to get his 15 touches. He might even catch a few passes and score a touchdown. If he falls in the end zone, even better.
Well, Gabe, he had his second highest yards per attention, which was
4.6.
And he had 5.1 one season before. And then the other 4 seasons that he's played, he hasn't cracked 4. I just don't think he's that good. He gets the volume. I don't know why. He's only cracked 1,000 yards rushing once in his entire career. And for somebody that we talk about as much as Melvin Gordon, or we have talked about as highly as him, I'm not impressed with the numbers. So, but I agree with you. He's definitely a must start this week 1. Javonte Williams is going to be eased in. He's not going to be thrown into the fire. Most of these rookies aren't. I can see Javonte playing very similar to Cam Akers, where it takes him at least half a season. He'll probably get a little. I think he'll get a little bit more work than Cam Akers to start, but then second half of the season he becomes a must start.
100%, couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And when you talk about Melvin Gordon, sure, but you always have to look at the other side of the ball. Giants, like I said, bottom 10 in run defense last year. I don't think they did much to improve that. That team overall is supposed to be pretty bad, so we'll have to monitor that situation. But in week 1, I feel confident rolling him out there. So that is my dark horse for week 1. Gentlemen, I'll let you raise your hand. Who would like to go next? No hands raised.
I'll go.
Yeah, Jacob raised his hand. So, Jacob, if you want to go, you can.
Well, did you see the choices, Joe?
What?
Like, did you see our choices? I don't know. Do you know who our picks are?
I only know Gabe's. I didn't see anybody else's.
Oh, okay. Just wondering.
Well, then let's go ahead and hand it to Jacob, so that way Joe can be
I was
surprised.
just curious.
by
I was
all.
like wondering if we have the same ones, or at least one of the same ones. But my dark horse for week 1 is Trey Sermon of the San Francisco 49ers.
Wow.
Look, he is actually right now. So Fantasy Pros, on Fantasy Pros, which is like a consensus ranking, and for week 1, he's RB. What was it? 32.
Yes.
RB 32. I guarantee you, he's going to finish higher than that. Look, we're playing the Niners are playing the Detroit Lions, right? So
Jacob's on the team. He's suiting up.
As most people speculate, like that the Niners are going to knock them out. They're going to be up most of the game. Look, Mostert is there to get 12 touches and get you your lead. Once the Niners have their lead, and even prior to that, I think they're going to run Sermon, not negatively, but he's young, so they can do this. They're going to run him into the ground. He's going to be the clock eater. They're not going to waste what's his name, Mostert, on those games where they're up and they're just trying to run the clock out. And I watched the preseason games. I know they're not the end all, like the tell all, but they were using Sermon just a lot, like in every carry that they were playing. So the Lions have one of the worst run defenses in all of football. We saw that last year. Not much has changed. And we're coming into this year. I just think he's definitely going to finish. I'm not saying he's going to be RB1 for week 1, but I think he's going to finish as a solid RB2 for week 1. And if you're debating him or other guys, like I like to give advice that I would do myself, right? So in my last flex spot in one of our leagues, I have Trey Sermon. I'm either looking at Trey Sermon or Brandon Cooks. Yes, the Houston Texans are playing the Jaguars, who don't have a great defense, but I feel I don't know what the hell's going to happen with the Houston offense. I feel a lot better knowing the Niners have one of the highest run percentages in the league, and Kyle Shanahan believes in this guy, Trey Sermon. They're playing the Lions, so I'm all in on him for week 1.
Yeah, we just have to circle back to these defenses that were atrocious last year. None of them, it's not going to be a night-day transformation for any of these defenses. Like you said, Lions worst, almost second worst in the year in the league last year. If they're going to make improvements, it's going to happen as the season progresses. So week 1, roll Trey Sermon out there, roll Mostert out there. I'm all for it. Joseph, Justin, you in agreement?
Yeah.
Oh, Justin, come on. What do you got?
I don't want to put my neck out on a rookie running back in a shared backfield on the first week of the season. I don't think you did, but I don't think most people drafted Sermon to be a starting RB right away. So if you put your neck out there, I hope it works out, but I'm going to take a back seat on this one for the first quarter of the season.
Yeah, the reason I think Jacob's onto something is because, listen, we're going to run the ball 30 times. And there was plenty of weeks last year where Jeff Wilson Jr. and Tevin Coleman and Raheem
Michael
Mostert all got
Hasty.
work. Yeah, all 3 of them got work. And now we're looking at it like, who's the third running back? Elijah Mitchell? And now he could figure in on some pass downs. But I think the majority is going to be Sermon, getting him loose, and Mostert, and not overworking him and keeping him fresh. So I agree with Jacob. Like, I'm not projecting 20 points, but I would not be the least bit surprised if he gets you 12, 15.
Fair enough. I can take that.
And
All
I
right,
just
well,
want to say thanks to Aaron Linall for watching, and they said literally going to start Gordon and Mostert in 2 different leagues. Needed to hear this, LOL. And yes, to that point, in a different way, everything I said regarding Sermon, I would apply to Mostert, but they're gonna use him differently. But same thing, they're playing the Lions, so good on you.
Yeah.
And I think I keep saying it's important to note, but it really is, because when we bring up defenses, when you roll your studs out, CMC, Dalvin Cook, those guys, you're not concerned about, a Steelers defense. You're not concerned about – no, you're not, because those are the studs and they go against whoever you're playing, right? When it comes to these guys, these are things that you have to factor in, because they're already dark horses, meaning that they might not have ample playing time. They might not see the field as much. Therefore, when they do come in, are these matchups going to affect them? That's why we rely so heavily on the schedules. With that being said, I'll hand it over to Joe. Who is your dark horse?
Well, boys, I am going to go with the starting running back from the best running team last year in the league, and that is Gus Edwards. And the reason I say that is, so I was on ESPN. So I'm in a league where I have James Robinson and Gus Edwards. And with my heart of hearts, I said, if I have to bench James Robinson, I'm going to for Gus Edwards. And I went on ESPN's rankings and I said, okay, where's James Robinson? Number 7 overall. I was a little bit surprised. I expected him somewhere in the top 15, but number 7 is really high. And then I saw Gus Edwards all the way down at 19. And I had no idea how that could be. It's the best run team in the entire league. He's the starting running back, with the only other running back even on the roster right now, on the official roster, being a rookie. And I don't even know what round Tyson Williams got drafted.
And to your point, Joe, just so you know, Fantasy Pros at week 1 has Gus at RB22. I think that's crazy.
Dude, to me, he's an RB top 10 this week. He's going against the Raiders, which is like probably the worst rush defense in the dude. It's the Baltimore Ravens week 1 against the Raiders, and I'm sorry to tell you this, Gabe, but it is going to be a smackdown. And the Ravens are going to run the ball, and Gus Edwards is going to feast. And I think this man is so underrated because every year, even though some reason he gets pushed to RB2, RB3, he's now getting his chance. And this man is hungry, and he's out to prove, hey, you don't need to go get Latavius Murray. I'm your guy. And he's going to go out there and give it his all. And I've got him as a top 10 running back this week. And like I said, I like James Robinson, and I'm fine with him. You know, obviously you're going to start him if you have him, most likely. I'm stacked in that league, and that's why I'm making this decision. But Gus Edwards is a no-brainer to me. He's not coming out of my lineup. It doesn't matter who the hell else I have. Unless you have CMC, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, and Derrick Henry, which I know you don't, you're starting Gus Edwards.
Look, there's a reason why I'm starting the Baltimore defense as well. I love my team, but you can't ignore a matchup like that. I'm a realist at times. Sometimes I like to dance in the clouds, as we'll talk about later, maybe on our It's Personal podcast. But anyways, yeah, that's an excellent pick. I'm not moving Gus Edwards out of any sort of lineup. I drafted him. Most people drafted him where they drafted Dobbins, in the 3rd and the 4th round, somewhere around there. I think Dobbins might have been like a 2nd-round pick, but Gus fell a little bit. Yeah, you drafted to start him. You're going to start him. It's a fine pick, and I don't think there's really anything else to say unless Jacob, Justin, you got anything?
We got another viewer comment here. Jaden Morsaw's not sure who this kid is, but he says Gus Edwards is going to be an absolute monster. I got him on my fantasy team. Can't wait.
I agree with you, Jaden.
Good on
He
you,
is
Jaden.
going to
I'm gonna bring it back to reality on him real quick. I can't
Look
wait
at
to
this devil's
see.
advocate over
I
there.
can't wait to see all y'all's face when Lamar vultures TDs. So just I'm putting it out there. You know he's the best running back on the team. So let's see how that plays out.
Hold on. Gus Edwards, guys, is 6'1", 238 pounds. This is a man that has played 3 years of football, and he has never had under 700 yards, and he has never had average under 5 yards a carry. Now, we can sit there and talk about, well, he's been kind of the change of pace. Dude, 700 yards for a change of pace is insane. And now you throw him into the RB1. If he doubles his, rushing attempts, which isn't crazy because he's only averaged about 130 to 140, and to get about 250, 280 is not crazy for a starting running back in that offense. We're going to see this man get you about 1,400 rush yards. Now, the part I'm concerned with him is he doesn't catch balls. But he is the goal line running back, and he has been, right?
Wait till Latavius comes and takes all of them away from him too.
Listen, that might be the case, but the man is going to get you 5 yards to carry, and he's going to touch the ball 20 times. He's going to get you 100 yards this week. Book it down.
Did anyone ever carry 20 times under Lamar?
I don't know, because they've had 3 guys sharing the ball, and this year, you think Tyson's going to carry 10 times this game? I mean, what's your projections for Tyson? That's what I'm curious about.
I think it has to be Latavius going there, so that's where I'm banking my understanding from. I don't know about the backups there.
Well, Latavius will be there week 1.
That's the thing. So you think he's going to sign within 3 days, suit up, get on the field?
No, but it's just under Lamar, and then long term, I was speaking about that.
To be fair, Joe was making proclamations on the season, so Justin's maybe arguing against that. But we have our 5th member, DeMont Ricks, who says Gus Edwards outside of the top 10 week
He's
1
a
for
Raiders
sure.
fan,
Wow.
guys.
I agree.
I did not speak for the other Raiders fans.
There's way too many good running backs out there for him
We
to
can
finish
talk
top
about
10.
this all day, but we have to get to Justin. He's been playing devil's advocate to most of our dark horses this week. So let's hear who his is. Who is your dark horse for week 1 of the 2021 season, Justin?
I'm going to switch the script and go with a quarterback, and that man is the number 1 pick overall, Trevor Lawrence, against Houston, who's in disarray, not going to win any games. They're going to get stomped, lights out. Shark, Laviscus, everyone's going to be beastly. I would start him with confidence. If you're one of those guys who's in a deeper league, maybe had a late round QB selection and you're not so sure about it, and you have him in the back, I would be very confident starting him this week. I love it. He's middle of the pack, a little high up there, but I don't think many people are wanting to start him right away. Week 1's the week to start him.
I think he's the only rookie quarterback that I'm willing to roll out there week one just because of how atrocious the Texans should and will be. And then after that, I'll kind of temper my expectations because I think people are going to get overly excited when he throws, 270 yards, 2 touchdowns, and maybe runs for, 60 or 70 yards. He's going to have an amazing game. And then
That
he's going
is
to very
bold, Gabe. That's bold.
well. I mean, I'm not
250 plus yards and
booking
70
it
yards.
down or anything. I'm not. I'm just saying.
Hey, look, this is music
in a
to my
world-
ears because I have to start him in our Pick Six league because I waited so long on quarterback. So thank you guys, you make me feel better about that.
Yeah, and I'm not saying he's going to go out there and do that. I'm just saying, like, people will be mesmerized if he has a good game. But the schedule doesn't get easy after that. Houston might be a cakewalk, and I'm just saying it might get a little bit harder for him, and he might have to come back down to earth. The same with his fantasy managers. But, Justin, I like it for week one. Joe, any last thoughts?
Listen, rookie quarterbacks, week one. I think Justin and I maybe have the exact opposite view. Rookie running back, I don't have any problem throwing him out there because I think teams with running backs, they are not afraid to let them go. But with quarterbacks, on a team like the Jaguars with the college coach who's already said he's planning on running a lot, I don't know. I just don't know that I'm comfortable. Like, if you're Jacob, you have to, right? I mean,
Against the Texans, though, I mean, it's the one time where you feel comfortable, but it is his first NFL start ever.
First
so.
NFL
Joe,
start.
let me ask you
Like,
this. Are you
if I'm
comfortable
J-
starting him in a 2 QB league?
Oh yeah, I mean you have to
Well,
be,
then,
right?
that's
And
fair
it's a
enough.
2 QB league. He's in the top 20, but like for instance, Jacob, I think Kirk Cousins is on the waivers in that.
He is, but like it's
And-
not worth dropping somebody to me. You know?
Okay,
I'd
so
rather
I'm
start-
with you. I'm with
Yeah.
you. But I personally would find a way to run. Is that the same league that you have 3 tight ends? I
Yeah, I'm gonna. Yeah, well, I
You have to drop one.
I
So
only
assume-
have 3 for a trade situation. I'll drop the third one to get a kicker, though.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, I think I would find a way to roster Kirk Cousins, but I understand you saying, you know what, it's 1 week. Let's roll it out with him, see how it goes, and I can always go back and pick up Kirk Cousins after if I need to.
Fair enough. Well, hey,
Yeah.
Jacob, we're rooting for you. I have him
Yeah.
in a 2 QB league. I'm rooting for you. Justin, looks like only your brother disagreed. Who would have thought the brothers disagree on something? With that being said, that concludes our 2021 Dark Horses for week one of the start of the season. Now it's
And
time
to
to
be
get a little.
fair, Gabe, I don't hate Trevor Lawrence.
I'm not saying you do.
I just see 10 quarterbacks that I easily start over him. So unless you're in a 2 QB league, if I'm giving my advice that this is my dark horse, it means that I have him in the top 10 in terms of QB because I'm saying you got to start him, and I don't. You know, that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. It's not that he's going to be bad. Top 15 is still relevant.
Top 15 is still relevant. I mean, you got to think some leagues in the standard is usually a 12-team league, so he
Yeah.
could be right outside that frisk, which makes him a QB1. So we'll
Yeah.
have to wait and see.
And when half the league rosters 2 top 12 quarterbacks, what are you supposed to do?
Hey, you know, I hate it, and I know it's going to happen every year. I'm like, watch out because Shane's about to grab a second quarterback. You can't. It's not like most leagues where you can just wait and punt QB until like round 13. Like
No,
even in our
everyone
league, you still have to grab him in round 8 because Shane's
Yeah.
about to grab a second one.
All right,
So-
don't spoil Shane's talk. We'll talk about him later in the It's Personal
Yeah.
podcast. But that is it for our 2021 Dark Horses for week one. Let's get negative Nancy here. Justin, I'll start off with you. Who is your 2021 Fool's Gold player for week one?
I mean, I wanted to keep it with quarterbacks again, but this one, I don't know how many people are starting them, but maybe some people love the hype and want the potential, but bench Tua versus the Patriots. I don't like Tua in general, and you bring back a better defense within the Patriots who like to slow things down. They have a rookie quarterback. They're not looking to sling it at all, so it's going to be a slower paced game, hopefully. And that doesn't lead to big numbers for QBs. So if you have any world where you're starting Tua, I'd rather have you reconsider and pick somebody else up. I'm sure there's much better options on the waiver wire. I fade all day on him.
It looks like Stephon Gilmore is going to be out, but I think for our defense as a whole, that is just maddening. That defense has proven time and time again. They shut down mostly everybody. We called them right a few times last year on Josh Allen and guys like Justin Herbert going against New England. So I think it's rightly so, Justin, that we will wait to fire Tua out of the gates, but we will hold him in week one. That's a good pick. We're gonna keep on going. Jacob, who's your 2021 Fool's Gold player?
Well,
week one.
not for the whole year, just for
Yeah.
week one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Week 1
Yeah,
Fool's Gold player.
and this one hurts because I love this guy overall as a player, and I just like I'm not going to be sitting in most weeks, but it is DeAndre Swift for week one. It's not because of his injury. Like he was out. He has a groin injury. He was out for a while, and I guess that hurts him a little bit because he hasn't been practicing with the team. He gets 1 week. He'll be fine in that regard. And I know he's going to get some passing work if they're down still. But to me, it's like him and Jamal Williams basically like almost do the same thing. And it's such a weird situation. It's not like Latavius Murray and Alvin Kamara where they're completely two different backs, so the offense utilizes them. These guys are very similar to me, and they're going to be used in the same way. So in that sense, I feel like they're going to be splitting a lot of work. Now, you have a guy coming off a groin injury. They're going to be down, and that's a guess, right? Who knows? Anything can happen any given Sunday. But I just think that if they're down, and it's not like Jamal Williams can't catch the ball too. You have a guy coming off a groin. Why risk him? Like, all right, you know what, Swift? Take a seat. We're just going to use Jamal Williams. He's sturdy. He's reliable. And I just have a feeling that that's what we're going to see. So it's nothing against Swift's talent. It's just a situation, the game, the matchup, who his running mate is. I'm just not. And I'll give you an example for myself is in one of our leagues, I have Swift as my third running back behind Montgomery and Chubb. So I'm definitely starting Montgomery and Chubb. And then I have Kareem Hunt in that league too. And it's not that I love Kareem Hunt over Swift in that matchup. It's just that all my worries about Swift. And last year in this same league, I started Chubb and Hunt every week, and it worked out for me. So I'm comfortable doing that. I know a lot of people aren't. So like, if you're questionable about Swift, if you have the depth, I think he's benchable. But I will say, I know a lot of teams probably have him as their RB2, probably have them as their first flex. So you probably can't afford to bench him. But in my situation specifically, and I know other people might have similar situations, I'm okay sitting him if I have to.
So let me ask you real quick though, if you drafted the handcuff in Jamal Williams, are you strong enough to bench Swift to start Jamal?
That is tough. I mean, basically my argument would imply that, right? I mean, I don't know if I would have the balls to do that specifically, but my argument would attest to that. So
It's an interesting
Justin's
situation.
sitting there just smiling like, yeah.
I'm a Jamal truther, man.
Would you
Hey,
start
man.
him then, Justin, if you're a Jamal truther?
I mean, it's a very difficult question. I never would draft Swift, and I would always draft Jamal, but I never would be in a position to start Jamal week one, if that makes sense. But if the situation happens and Jamal's my guy, then I'd start him. I like him. I like what he brings in a PPR league.
I think Jacob's explanation of his Fool's Gold player in DeAndre Swift sums up what a Fool's Gold player is. And I'll tell people that who, again, are listening for the first time. Fool's Gold players aren't necessarily players that we're telling you, bench them, don't play them at all. Except for in Justin's case with Tua Tagovailoa. But
well, I think that was
with a
more
guy
of
like DeAndre Swift,
that's a
you just
super
want to
flex
temper
thing.
your
Tua
expectations. And I
thing.
think that's what Jacob is trying to say as a whole. Correct?
Yeah,
Jacob?
for sure. I think most people are going to start him. Like, obviously they are. But real quick, Gio said rooting for you. I think this is a reference because you guys, Gabe, you said you were rooting for me. I played Gio in that matchup where I'm starting Trevor Lawrence. So come on, Trevor Lawrence, baby. Bring me home a win.
Gio's a doomer.
Yeah. And also, Aaron, Gio is one of our friends. He's in a bunch of these leagues with us.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And
Thanks, Aaron.
just to touch on Swift, guys, in the last 6 games that he played last year, he touched the ball 16 times, 21 times, 11 times, 19 times, 14 times, and 15 times. And I think that number increases this year. And I don't think they have any wide receivers. And I think Goff is going to lean on him. I think him and Jamal Williams are both going to be fantasy startable this year. I think we're going to see very similar to Chubb and Hunt in that regard. Maybe neither of them reach Chubb's level, but I think because of the PPR with both of them, that at the very minimum, I'm a Swift believer from day one, so maybe that's me.
Well, I told you, man, it's not. I love the guy. You and I both have liked him since day one, but it's just this week. I don't know.
Yeah, but I don't think the 49ers do very good against little quick backs, dude. I think we do a lot better against those bigger backs, and I think that there is potential for Swift to find the end zone in what I think will be a not very pretty game for the Lions. I don't know. Maybe they'll rest him, dude. Maybe you guys are right. Maybe Swift, they're going to say, hey, you know what? Is it a groin, right? Why throw him out there in a game where we're losing 21-7 by halftime? I don't know. Maybe. But I also see that they're going to say, you know what? We need to get him ready for the season. And I don't think teams are going to do that week one where they're going to say, hey, you know what? We can't get our guy touches because he's hurt. I think they're going to try to work him out of that injury rather than say, hey, you know what? Take the week.
Well, this could come to bite me. The way it could come to bite me if he has like 8 catches, then I'm gonna be upset for benching him.
Yeah, and I think that's what's gonna happen, Jacob. I don't see him getting a lot of groundwork, but I think that he's. And I don't know, 8 catches is a lot, but I could see like.
Well, if he does something like McKissick was doing last year, something like that, I could see that.
I see 6 catches, 45 yards, and I think that right there, if you're in a PPR league, that's 11 points. So can he get you 50 yards on the ground and get you 15 points? I think so,
Possibly.
That sounds good in PPR, but it doesn't sound good for a guy like me who drafted him in standard.
No.
Zinga. With that being said, let bygones be bygones. Justin, we'll talk about it later. Some leagues that's what they do, man. Let's let bygones be bygones and let the audience decide what they want to do with that information. Joe, we still have you for our last 2021 Fool's Gold player for week 1. Who is it?
So I'm kind of going. I said Gus Edwards was my dark horse, right? And my Fool's Gold is in the same game on the opposite side of the ball in the same position, and that is that boy Josh Jacobs, who is talented as anyone, right? I just don't understand why the Raiders will not allow him to catch a ball, and I don't trust them to get in the end zone on the ground. And I think Kenyon Drake is going to see a lot of time in this game when they're going to be working from behind. And it's not that I think that you probably don't have a better option, but I just think you need to temper your expectations, right? Like I could easily see him having 18 carries for 80 yards, but not having a single catch and not getting in the end zone, and that's 8 points. So I don't really love that play. I think that ESPN has Gus Edwards as the running back 19 and Josh Jacobs as the running back 21. And I see that gap much bigger than that. I think guys like Swift, Gaskin, Kareem Hunt, Mike Davis, Chase Edmond, that are all listed below Josh Jacobs are going to end up finishing higher than him in week 1, as well as your guy Melvin Gordon, possibly Leonard Fournette, and even Kenyon Drake, who is his backup. I could see him. Well, because the Raiders, every Raider fan that I talk to says, I had this conversation probably 20 times over the last 3 months, is we signed him to have both of them on the field at the same time. And if that's the case, which I don't know, I'm going to take Raiders fans' word for it, is that they plan on using both of them in the backfield with 2 wide receivers and Waller. And if that's the case, who's going to get the ball when they're down by 10, down by 14?
Waller.
It's not going to be Jacobs. It's going to be Waller and Drake. They don't throw to wide receivers.
Yeah,
So it's going to be Waller and Drake.
Overall, people are sleeping on Drake. I've never been high on Drake, but this year people are sleeping on him for where he's going in drafts.
What was he like? The running back 35, dude?
I don't know. Justin got him way late in the Rio League.
I'm all about.
No, I don't have Drake.
Highest paid backup running
somebody
back.
did.
Weimar did, and he had Josh
Weimar did,
Jacobs, and it
Listen,
was a great pickup.
All right,
Drake,
Justin, let's make your take quick.
I'm just saying Drake is a nice keeper for a Josh Jacobs owner, but that backfield's disgusting, and I'm sad for Josh Jacobs because he needs to be a workahorse.
Yeah. No, he's not a workhorse because he can't catch the ball, right? So unless you're Derrick Henry, you just can't be a workhorse. And I'm not saying he can't. I'm saying they won't let him.
They don't let.
Exactly.
They don't.
Can't is a strong
Yeah.
word, but that's just the way some teams are these days.
Gabe, did
I'll
we
be
get
very-
yours?
Yeah, I'll be
Yeah.
very quick with mine. Let's limit the conversation to just a little bit, unless you guys absolutely hate it. But it's Damian Harris, running back for the New England Patriots, listed as RB23 on the week. I believe they're going up against Miami. Yes, that's right. I am correct. One of the better run
In
defenses
Miami.
last year in Miami. One of the better
Yeah.
run defenses last year. I think everybody is very hyped. You know, Sony Michel gets shipped out. Damian Harris showed really strong success last year towards the end of the season. Ramondre Stevenson popped up on the injury report with the dislocated thumb. So there are tons of things going Damian Harris's way. I just don't think that's what happens week one. I think we're going to see something very similar to what happened last season, where Damian Harris is good for fantasy. Just maybe you have to wait until like week 6 or so when they finally want to realize what they want to do and they got to win games. So that's my pick. We'll keep it short. Anybody? Any thoughts?
Disagree.
I couldn't agree more.
I
I couldn't
couldn't
agree more.
I
disagree.
couldn't agree. Jacob, what did you say?
Not a bad choice.
Not a
Yeah.
bad choice.
I
Justin,
couldn't-
I don't
Catch
care what
the
you have to
ball.
say.
I couldn't disagree.
That offense
Okay,
is
we'll
going
let
to
hold on,
be,
hold on. We'll let Justin talk really quick because he's the only one.
Real
who
quick.
disagrees.
It's
Real
a
quick.
rookie run. It's a rookie quarterback who's starting after a preseason cut, and he wasn't expected to start. If there's one thing someone like Bill Belichick's going to do is protect his rookie and going to run the ball. Like I mentioned earlier, the same reason 2 is a fade is because that game's going to be slow. Slow games equal runs, and I see no reason why he's not going to get maybe 20 plus carries. Just strictly off volume, I want to play him.
Yeah, but here's the problem. So I
Will he
think
get that
game,
volume though?
Of course, no one else
even
is
if
there.
he does, though, Gabe, even if he does, that game is going to be a defensive matchup and an offensive nightmare. And
20
I can
carries
see,
for 70 yards.
yeah, who cares? And he had 5 catches over 10 games last year. You gonna bank on him getting 1 catch? I'm not. He had 2 touchdowns last year in 10 games. You're gonna bank on him getting in there?
That was behind Cam Newton, the vulture
Sure.
of vultures.
Sure.
That's very
But
true. Very
I
true.
could see the Patriots not even scoring a touchdown. I could see this
Look,
game being like a 9-12.
I expect very
I'm
big
just saying.
things from Damian Harris in 2021, just not in week 1. And that's why we call him our Fool's Gold. Take
Yeah.
what you want with it,
Hey,
do
hot
what you
takes.
want with it, and we'll leave it at that. That is our 2021 Fool's Gold players. Obviously, we're keeping tabs on this all year long. Same with our Book It Downs. So we can't wait to pay each other out towards the end of the season when things get really nitty and gritty. With that being said, we're going to move on to some Keep Trade Cut, first of the 2021 season. First up, I have a trio of running backs. They are all pass catchers, and they are all there, like Justin said earlier. They don't vulture touchdowns, but they vulture something just as valuable, pass catching opportunities. And that is James White, Gio Bernard, and J.D. McKissick. Currently, all of them can be found after the 12th round.
One more time. Who was the second guy?
Who are you? It is James White, Gio Bernard, and J.D. McKissick. All can be found after the 12th round. Let's not do too much explaining. I just want to hear your gut reactions. I'll start with you, Jacob. Keep Trade Cut, James White, Gio Bernard, J.D. McKissick.
Man, okay, so I'm gonna pull a Justin and trade J.D. McKissick to the Gibson owner, just because that's where I'd get the most value for him. I'll go ahead and cut Gio Bernard, and I'll hold on to James White because I think with Mac Jones, he has some upside.
Very good. I like that. Justin?
I almost verbatim. I love McKissick, but the value to the Gibson owner is the best you can get out of those 3. So I copy Jacob exactly.
Fair enough. Joe?
Yeah, I don't see McKissick having it. As a Gibson owner, I don't value McKissick that much because I think if Gibson goes down, there's other guys that are going to be the top guy anyways. So
They did release Peyton Barber. You know, I don't know.
I understand, and they could be a prime pickup for Adrian Peterson or Latavius Murray. I don't think they'll ever. J.D. McKissick is not a number 1 back. I'm going to trade James White. I'm going to keep J.D. McKissick, and I'll agree I'm going to cut Gio Bernard.
Fair enough. Well, I have a slightly different take. I will probably keep Gio Bernard. I'll probably trade J.D. McKissick. I mean, there are some people out there who saw what he did last year and think, oh, man, he might do it again. So I'll look for that uneducated fantasy owner, and I will unfortunately cut James White. Although that's tough because I really do like him with Mac Jones there, like Jacob said. It's just one of the tough situations you have to face, and that's why we call it Keep Trade Cut. You do what you want with it. But guess what? There's a bonus. Here it comes. This is now a trio of, I believe, wide receivers. One of them is a rookie. 2 of them are second-year players. Actually, I think Russell Gage – oh, I just told you one. Russell Gage is a third-year guy. But that is Terrence Marshall, wide receiver for the Carolina Panthers, Russell Gage, wide receiver for the Atlanta Falcons, and Gabriel Davis, wide receiver for the Buffalo Bills. They can all be found in the 14th round. this year in drafts. So with that being said, do what you want with it. Keep, trade, cut. Terrence Marshall, Russell Gage, Gabriel Davis. Justin, I'll start with you, the wide receiver guru himself.
For sure, I'm going to look to trade Gabriel Davis. I think people are undercover on him and like him, so the person that's interested will make a move. I'm going to keep Russell Gage because at 14, which I got him in a couple leagues, is a steal in my opinion with Julio gone. And then I'd have to cut Terrence Marshall, not because I want to, but there's a lot of mouths to feed, and compared to the other two, it's what has to be done.
I'll piggyback off of that just because I agree with him. You know, you want to go with guys who have done it. None of these guys have technically done it, but Terrence Marshall is the rookie. Who knows if he's going to fill that Curtis Samuel gadget guy role. So I'll cut him. I'll keep Russell Gage, and I'll trade Gabriel Davis. Jacob, I know you're a Gabriel Davis fan. You got another opinion?
Oh man, you gave me a tough one here, but I think look, I'll just go off the bat. We're talking redraft. I got to cut Terrace Marshall just because we don't know what to expect. I love the guy in Dynasty. I've been talking him up all offseason, but I got to cut him. I'll trade Gage because I think a lot of people are like, ooh, he's the wide receiver 2 in Atlanta. And while I do agree with that, I just think people are higher on him than I am. So I think I can get a little bit of value there. And I'll hold on to Gabriel Davis because I've seen what he can do with Josh Allen, and I think he can build upon that. So keep Davis, trade Gage, and cut Terrace Marshall.
And Joe, we'll end it with you.
Yeah, same as Jacob. And I got to give Jacob credit because he was very early on the Gabriel Davis train, a lot earlier than I was. I've come around. I think with Josh Allen, I think Cole Beasley is going to the NFL is not going to be very happy with him, and I expect him to miss some games. I don't think Diggs is going to repeat how much volume he got last year, and Gabriel Davis did have 62 targets. So let's go ahead and bump up his reception numbers. Let's go ahead and bump up his targets, and I think you're looking at an 800-yard receiver with very good touchdown upside. And give me 50, 60 catches. I think he's a flex play at some point during the season. Maybe not week 1 while Cole Beasley and Diggs are there, but as we get to week 6, week 7, week 8, he should become fantasy relevant. So, yeah. And I like Gage. This is tough as ever. They're both going to be very good. I think you get more value for Gage than you will Davis.
Well, that's the point.
That's a fair
Yeah.
assessment.
Yeah.
But at that point, you almost like Russell Gage more. You
Even
feel
if I
like
like
you're
Gage
gonna make
more, like in redraft this year, I'd rather trade him and get more value. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed.
it. Fair enough. All right. Well, that was Keep Trade Cut. We made that fast. I love the way we do that. We'll bring you more of those as we move throughout the first couple of weeks for the season. With that being said, I'm going to hand it over to Jacob. We got about 2.5 minutes, Jacob. But I hear we have our first trade evaluation form to go over. Let's talk about it real quick. What do you got?
We do. So if you were listening last week, we created this Google form, trade evaluation form. We'll put the link in the description below. But we got this one actually like right after our episode last week, and this was from Gio. And let me see here. Let me pull it up. So our buddy Gio, he is looking to trade away Joe Burrow in a Superflex league. And he's just basically wondering what type of value he can get coming back. So it's a dynasty league. It's 12-team, 6 points per touchdown, super flex. And he said thinking of holding on so others can see he's still a fantasy elite option, but he's willing to trade him. So what kind of value would you be looking back for Joe Burrow in a super flex dynasty league?
Really
So-
quick, my question before any of you get started, before you say your explanation, would you rather, because I know Gio mentioned this in his question, would you rather hold on to Gio to prove to people that he is fantasy relevant, or get rid of him as fast as you can before, let's say, Sunday when week 1 rolls out? Joe, I'll start with you.
I'm sorry. The question was Gio Bernard. Would you rather keep him or
No.
Oh.
Joe
Burrow?
Joe
Oh.
Burrow. I
Burrow,
said
yeah.
Gio, sorry.
Gio, I'm like, so no, I think he's gonna be fine. My question is, why do you want to trade him? Maybe I missed that. I apologize. I was reading something. If you need running back help, I'll say I traded Joe Burrow earlier this offseason. I felt like I could use, like I had quarterbacks to spare, and that I could use some running back depth, and I traded him basically for Dobbins. So I'm looking at that. If I'm trading Joe Burrow, I want a young stud running back on coming back to me. Now that could be Gibson, that could be Swift, that could be. I doubt that Najee Harris is the owner is gonna give up him, but I'm looking at least at the minimum a David Montgomery. I'm looking at the minimum a Gibson, a Swift, someone, and you have to obviously believe in them because I believed in J.K. Dobbins when I traded Burrow for him. So I'd say if you have two super solid options and you're like, you know what, I like this guy better than Burrow, I want to get rid of him, I'd be looking for something like that, and I'm not trading him for anything less.
So he said his other QBs are Lance, Tua, Wentz, and Love.
Well, I'll be honest, I'm not trading Burrow if those are my other quarterbacks. So,
He
into
could be looking
Lance
for another
Lawrence.
QB though.
It's a 12-team league, so this quarterback stretched really thin. So I'm in that league with them. I only have 3, and I have Mac Jones, Sam Darnold, and Patrick Mahomes. So everybody's quarterbacks are super light like that.
So to be honest, can I get something for Wentz? Because if I'm looking at that, like for this year, I'm wanting to keep Lance. I'm wanting to keep Tua. I'm wanting to keep Burrow. I'm wanting to see what progresses with Jordan Love next year. And then once I maybe say, okay, Lance is the starter, Love's the starter, and now I still have Tua, okay, now I feel comfortable. Let's go ahead and trade Burrow. But for now, I'm saying, okay, I'll trade Wentz. I'm comfortable going with Burrow and Tua. Even now, I don't really have another backup, which is rough. But that's okay. I'll trade Wentz because I still think I could get value. And then maybe next year I'll look at moving Burrow.
I think that pretty much sums it up, Gabe. We do have one more really quick, and we should ask Justin this question.
Yeah.
We have 1 minute and 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Okay,
Justin.
so Justin, this is from the Fantasy God, but I think I know who it is. He said trading for Zeke, trading away Waller, basically in everything standard. 1 QB, 6 points per touchdown, 10-team keeper league.
Trading Waller for
Zeke for Waller. As the Zeke side of it, I'd ask for a little bit more on top. You don't trade a top tier running back. No one expects Zeke to be top 3, but you don't expect him to be out of the top 10. And running back is hard to fill with injuries. I know a top end tight end is amazing, but it's just a hard move for a running back for a tight end swap. Even in Kelsey for a top end running back, the tight end to running back, it's such a huge gap. So if it's a nice trade, a little more pieces on both sides could get it done. But straight up, I go on the Zeke side.
I'm not even
I think
thinking.
we'll let that one. What'd you say?
I don't even like Zeke, but I'm not touching that trade as the Zeke owner.
Yeah, I think we'll let that one die young and live hard for the 30 seconds it was out there. But we appreciate all your submissions. We truly do. If you ever have time, if you ever have questions pondering your mind, feel free to reach out to us at First Round Fantasy. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and YouTube at First Round Fantasy, or anywhere else you get your podcast. We're so happy to have you. We're so happy to have you listen to us. Please always feel free to like and subscribe. It does so much because it boosts confidence. Don't you just want people to be happy in this world? We want to be happy, so let us be happy. With that being said, that is it. You got our 2021 Dark Horses for Week 1 and our Fool's Gold players for Week 1. We hope you enjoy it. Talk down in the comments. We'll be sure to engage. With that being said, let's let good times roll, and we'll see you guys all next week when we can talk about all the madness that was Week 1 for fantasy football. I will see you later. Peace!